This past spring, Sarah Bond found herself at the center of an unexpected controversy. Sarah's a classicist, a profession that doesn't really attract conflict, especially about race. This particular controversy, weirdly enough, was about an article she wrote on ancient statues and something called polychromy.
White marble statues are what you normally see when you go into any museum today. They're really mostly what is presented to the public either in movies or in video games or in museums. But we know, particularly from a lot of digital technologies, that polychromy was something that was quite common.
Polychromy is an academic term that just means lots of paint. Over the past 30 or so years, scientific and imaging advances have made it possible to know that this archer, sculpted around 500 BCE, actually looked like this. Sarah's argument was about skin color. Paintings from ancient Rome and Greece show a wide variety of skin tones that reflected a multi-ethnic society. So why are these statues always presented in bare marble?
The belief that Romans are white people is something that's widespread. Julius Caesar oftentimes gets depicted as a pretty white guy, when in fact he probably had a much darker Mediterranean skin tone.
The image of these ancient societies as mostly white can be traced back to an 18th century scholar named Johann Winkelmann, who was fixated on the purity of white marble.
There is no monolithic skin tone for the entirety of the Mediterranean. You have people that are from North Africa, people that are from what is modern day Nigeria and Ethiopia that are intermixed.
For centuries, nobody questioned any of this. And now, the work of figuring out what these statues actually look like fall to people like Rachel Sabino, a conservator at the Art Institute of Chicago.
This pigment in here we analyzed, and it is red lead, so we know certainly that this whole sweep of drapery was more than likely a maroony color. As for the skin tones, that's always the question, because those are some of the more fugitive types of pigments. They don't last the longest. And we're not always sure if they were meant to be somewhat ephemeral looking or if they were meant to be these flat monochromes.
To Sarah, the paint on these statues challenges the belief that the Western world was built by white emperors, white scribes, and white artisans who created white statues. What you're describing is this sort of normalization of white marble. What effect do you think that that's had in terms of building out standards of beauty in the Western world?
So I think that Western civilization is itself a cultural construction, something that has been reused to argue for the superiority of Europeans and for Western civilization, and thus to connect the US to Europe in this cultural heritage.
Sarah and a growing number of classicists believe that polychrome statues should come with some cards, display, or even overlaid projection that would show how they originally looked.
There's resistance to any sort of alteration in something that's been perceived as an art historical standard, even the Sistine Chapel ceiling. So there are going to be people who are attached to the idea that these things were white.
It's something that was transmitted to us because paint gets rubbed away, but at the same time, it's not something that is a reality. It's a fiction that we really like telling ourselves.
That's Vice News Tonight for Monday.